if you're going to say that, one of the hallmarks that tells us and can give us maybe an indication as to how much are people anticipating watching certain movies, it's not the be all and end all, but one of the more interesting points of data that we have is how many people watch the trailer. When a movie comes out, generally speaking, I think almost all but one, if I remember correctly, and I might be wrong about this, of like the top 10 most viewed trailers in the first 24 hours, I believe they're all but one are in the $1 billion club, I think. So again, it's not a be all end all, but it is a little bit of an indication that gives us something. And you know what? 2025 had some remarkable trailers come out. Zootopia, Avatar, things like that. But we gathered up the top 5 most viewed trailers, the most successful trailers of 2025, movie trailers, that is. And I think a number of them are going to surprise you. Some of them will not, some of them will. But I know that the number 1 most viewed trailer of the year is going to surprise you. Let's go over and take a look at the top 5. And they are Toy Story 5 with 133 million views in its first 24 hours. At number 4 was Fantastic Four, First Steps. Its trailer garnered 144.1 million views in the first 24 hours. At number 3 was Lilo and Stitch, that gathered together 149.4 million views in the first 24 hours. At number 2 was the Moana live action trailer that came out. That got 161.2 million views. And the number 1 most viewed trailer in the first 24 hours was The Devil Wears Prada 2 with 100, and actually it won by a good margin, 181.5 million views. The Devil Wears Prada 2 at 181.5 million views. Now, there's a few interesting ones that are on the list. Like I said, the Avatar trailer, I think it got like 120 something million views. I think the Superman trailer got like 120 something million views. Zootopia 2, which is the biggest film of the year, at least so far. Zootopia 2 didn't crack the top 5. So it's kind of, again, this isn't definitive that I'm not saying that these numbers, and let's be very clear about this, I'm not saying these numbers lay out a clear roadmap for how big the movies will be. But again, it is pretty interesting that the number 1 film out of all of them, in a year that had Avatar trailers, Zootopia trailers, Superman trailers, Supergirl trailers, in a year that had all those, the number 1 was The Devil Wears Prada 2. By the way, you even beat out the Odyssey trailer. The Odyssey trailer, I think, finished with just right around 130 million, 120 something million, if I'm not mistaken. So here's the thing. I don't want to draw too many conclusions, but I am going to bring up this one. When we got into discussions earlier this month about films that could really surprise and potential billion-dollar films, not that they will be billion-dollar films, but potential billion-dollar films. One of the movies I mentioned that a lot of people look kind of shocked at was when I said The Devil Wears Prada 2. And I said, I think people underestimate just how big of a following that original movie had. And by the way, even though I am not, your target demographic, I don't give a crap about fashion. You can just tell by looking at me, I don't know anything about fashion. But that first Devil Wears Prada movie, I rewatched it with Anne a month or two ago. And I was reminded, forget that it's about fashion and all, forget all that. It's a really good movie. Like, you can say whatever you want. The Devil Wears Prada was a really good movie. And its place in the zeitgeist for a big demographic of our population has remained very solid. And just, again, this is just an example. The first trailer was really short. It was just really more of a teaser. And nothing happens in it. You see shoes walking through an office, and you see Anne Hathaway get into an elevator with Meryl Streep. And that's really about it. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, the new Devil Wears Prada trailer just dropped. Do you want to watch it? She's like, yeah. She came in the living room, sat down with me, and we played it. And when it finished playing, I turned to look at her to ask her, so what did you think? And she had tears coming down her eyes. Nothing even happens in this trailer. Nothing even happens in this trailer. And yet I turned and she had tears down her eyes. And then for the rest of the day, Anne's phone was just blowing up with all of her friends. Oh my God, The Devil Wears Prada 2. Again, I'm not the target demographic, but I think, and I'm definitely not saying it's going to make $1 billion, okay? And as I said from the outset, the chart of the most viewed trailers is not necessarily a roadmap to how well it'll do at the box office overall, but the fact that it was number one, again, in a year that had trailers for Superman, in a year that had trailers for Avatar, in a year that had a trailer for The Odyssey, in a year that had the trailers for Fantastic Four, the fact that The Devil Wears Prada 2, I think, should at least wake people up to the fact that this movie's going to do well. Now, whether well is $450 million, $750 million, potentially $1 billion, I don't know for sure. I'm just saying, don't look at me like I'm crazy when I say, hey, you know what? I think The Devil Wears Prada actually has some potential to maybe be $1 billion film, depending on how good it is and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, again, just a very interesting chart here today that The Devil Wears Prada 2 is the most viewed trailer of 2025. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about this? Are you surprised by the chart? I know I was pretty surprised by it. Do you think Devil Wears Prada 2 has potential to be fairly big? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.